Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Elaine Low, and I head up Mayor Brown JSM's Global China practice. On the screen, you can see an agenda of my talk today. Of course, I'm going to focus on just one topic, that is the legal services that Hong Kong can offer to investors and financiers for a Belt and Road project. My fellow panelists already show you what the Belt and Road region comprises of. The Belt and Road Initiative is China's most important strategic, diplomatic, and cultural initiative that promotes connectivity promotes connectivity across Asia with Europe and touching on Africa. This slide shows the 65 countries that are comprised in the Belt and Road region. My firm, Mayor Brown, has offices in, of course, Asia, in China, in Southeast Asia, and in Europe and the Middle East. And we are a typical law firm in Hong Kong, and you see we have experience doing projects, especially infrastructure projects, in a number of these Belt and Road countries. The Belt and Road Initiative encompasses at least 65 economies across Asia, Europe, and Africa. It has over 60% of the world's population, over 30% of the world's merchandise trade, and around 30% of the world's GDP. The initiative brings enormous opportunities for investors, financiers, and players in the infrastructure arena, because many of the countries in the Belt and Road region lack basic infrastructure like ports, roads, railways, power stations, water treatment plants. Hence, there are opportunities for all of us to play in that space, and particularly for companies that are engaged in intercontinental trade. The Belt and Road Initiative brings opportunities for these countries, for these companies, like mainland Chinese companies, that are looking at greater support for their general commercial activities in the region. The Belt and Road Initiative allows Hong Kong to play to our unique strength. My fellow panelists already mentioned that we are a big super connector. We are unique. In fact, Hong Kong is a unique super connector on this Belt and Road Initiative. Hong Kong has been the conduit for channeling capital and technology into as well as out of China. It is an international financial center. We offer world-class legal services, and I'm going to show you how our legal services profession can play a significant role in supporting this Belt and Road Initiative. And there are, of course, other leading professional services in Hong Kong, such as architectural services, accounting, engineering, and of course, banking services, which my other fellow panelist, Peter, will talk about in a moment. Now, the strength of Hong Kong that I will focus on is Hong Kong's legal services. And let me explain why Hong Kong, as an international financial center, attracts mainland Chinese companies, which in turn creates a demand for Hong Kong's legal services. On this slide, you will see that China is already a major net exporter of capital to the rest of the world. In 2014, the outward foreign direct investment of China amounted to $123.1 billion US dollars, and making China the third largest investor in the world. And of this amount, 58% came directly to Hong Kong or via Hong Kong. So Hong Kong really serves as a gateway for capital to be now flowing out of China. In 2015, the total China outward bound foreign direct investments amounted to 145.7 billion, making China the second biggest investor in the world. And in 2016, looks set to beat 2015's record. On this slide, you will see that 50% of the companies that comprises our Hang Seng Index on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange are H-shares and red chips. They are mainland Chinese companies listed in Hong Kong. And if you look at the weightings by share type, the China-related companies listed on Hong Kong Stock Exchange actually made up more than 53% of our Hang Seng Index. Now, why do mainland Chinese companies choose Hong Kong as a listing venue and as a springboard for their overseas expansion? Hong Kong benefits from the one country, two systems framework implemented since 1997. While we are a part of China, our legal, economic, political, and social systems are different from those on the mainland. Our legal system is a common law system upheld by an independent judiciary, a free and unfettered flow of information. We have a level playing field for business and a clean, efficient, and respected civil service. These are the strengths of Hong Kong. Because of the one country, two systems framework, Hong Kong is regarded as a neutral territory for conducting international business and for resolving cross-border disputes. Just by being listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, a Chinese company is able to demonstrate its commerciality and neutrality, even though its biggest shareholder may be directly or indirectly the PRC central government. Hong Kong allows a Chinese company, which has a base here, to project that it has a high standard of corporate governance, a willingness to submit to international standards of regulatory compliance and supervision, a high degree of transparency and accountability to investors. It also allows a Chinese company to project an image of professionalism and excellent management. So this explains why many mainland Chinese enterprises choose to have a base in Hong Kong or to have a listing in Hong Kong. A Hong Kong base allows a Chinese company to increase its ability to raise finance, whether it's through the capital markets or through lending from multilateral lenders and commercial banks. More importantly now, a listing in Hong Kong or a base in Hong Kong allows a mainland Chinese company to win trust from the host governments and the local partners in many Belt and Road countries. So this is an important consideration for Chinese companies to choose Hong Kong as a springboard for their overseas expansion and investment into the Belt and Road region. We in Hong Kong have world-class legal services, and the lawyers in Hong Kong have a long history of serving Chinese clients. We have a cultural affinity with them. We know the business environment in China, and many of our lawyers are very experienced and have wealth of experience executing infrastructure projects, such as those that are being promoted in the Belt and Road region. Hong Kong's common law system also lends itself well to multi-jurisdictional transactions. As I showed on the previous slide, a few countries in the Belt and Road region actually use common law, just like Hong Kong. And a host government in the Belt and Road region may accept Hong Kong law or English law as a neutral choice, as opposed to agreeing to PRC law or insisting on its own law. So here's where we can really promote Hong Kong's legal services by persuading them that Hong Kong law is an acceptable, applicable law for documenting contracts involved in Belt and Road projects. Now, here are some numbers to show our strength of the Hong Kong the strength of the Hong Kong legal sector. Here we have more than 870 law firms in Hong Kong. And in addition, we have 78 foreign law firms covering 32 jurisdictions. Many so-called Hong Kong law firms are actually international law firms, like ourselves, Mayer Brown, JSM. We have a global footprint, and we have offices in North and South Americas, in the UK, continental Europe, and in Middle East. Many of the foreign law firms registered here and serving clients here come from mainland China, USA, UK, Australia, and also, of course, BVI Cayman Islands. Now, Hong Kong does not only have Hong Kong qualified lawyers. We have more than 1,330 foreign lawyers as of the, from the records of the Law Society. We have more than 1,330 foreign lawyers originating from 32 different jurisdictions, and they are multilingual as well as multi-skilled. Many of them actually came from UK, US, mainland China, Singapore, Australia, and we offer advice not just on Hong Kong law, but on the laws of many different countries. Even if a Hong Kong law firm does not have a global network within its own firm, it may be a member of an International Lawyer Association next Monday. So you can see that Hong Kong law firms will have connections with many Belt and Road countries, either because they have a global footprint like our firm, or they could be a member of an International Lawyer Association, which includes domestic law firm members in many Belt and Road countries. This slide shows all the legal services that are usually required during the life cycle of a Belt and Road infrastructure project. And the legal services required are exactly the type of services that we Hong Kong lawyers provide for many of our clients years ago in mainland China, as well as in Southeast Asia. Ranging from project commencement, for instance, helping a sponsor to bid for an infrastructure project such as a power plant in a Belt and Road country like Pakistan, it is something that we do very, very often. We help clients structure the project. We help them with allocating risks. And then, of course, we help the project sponsors to negotiate a concession agreement with the local government. Sometimes, a Hong Kong law firm may end up actually acting for the host government, but more often than not, I think we help the project sponsors and the project company to negotiate the critically important contracts in an infrastructure project. For instance, a power plant, there would be usually an EPC or equipment procurement, a construction contract or turnkey contract to be drafted and negotiated. There are O&E, operating maintenance contracts, there are fuel supply contracts. And then when a winning consortium actually wins a project from a local host government, because of the nature of the project, huge amount of capital needs to be raised, and there Hong Kong can play a role. As I said, Peter will talk about it more, I'm sure, but Hong Kong being a financial center, we have a very efficient capital markets, and many investors actually will come to Hong Kong just to raise funds. If they are listed here, it's easy. They can do it through a private placement or with a bond issue, even issuing dim sum bonds. For instance, we have helped a number of clients with bond issuance, and a few of those are dim sum bonds raised, renminbi-denominated bonds raised in Hong Kong to finance a project elsewhere in another country. And then there's private equity funding, which can be used as well. And here, as I said, you can see that all these activities require extensive support from lawyers. And Hong Kong is the place to find these very talented, very skilled, very experienced lawyers who often are bilingual, if not multilingual. Hong Kong is also a center for resolving disputes. As I mentioned earlier, we are a part of China, and yet our legal system is a common law system, unlike that in China, which is a civil law system. Our courts are very independent and fair. We pride ourselves in having a rule of law, and that's upheld by our independent judiciary. But more importantly, for infrastructure projects in the Belt and Road region, arbitration is the most preferred method for resolving disputes. And there are many reasons why, because arbitration allows parties to resolve or settle a dispute privately, and is usually faster and more cost-efficient to have a cross-border dispute resolved by arbitration than through litigation. The Hong Kong International Arbitration Center was ranked the third most preferred and used arbitral institution worldwide. That is just after London and Paris. And we are the most preferred seat for arbitration in Asia. In addition, most other international arbitration organizations, such as the ICC, Court of International Arbitration, have branches in Hong Kong. There are many cross-border transactions which are suitable, as I said, for arbitration as opposed to litigation. And why? Because awards can be enforced under the New York Convention. Hong Kong is a member of the New York Convention, and arbitration awards issued in Hong Kong are enforceable by the courts of all 153 member states of the New York Convention. Now, some final thoughts. In conclusion, Hong Kong is China's superconnector for linking investors, financiers, and operators, whether from mainland China or elsewhere, engaging with Belt and Road projects. There are quite many reasons why this is the case. First of all, Hong Kong is Asia's preeminent international financial center, and funds can be very efficiently raised here. Secondly, we have a large, world-class legal industry. Our legal industry is underpinned by a very strong legal fraternity that offers a broad range of legal services, which are critical for any Belt and Road project. We have a strong and independent judiciary that maintains an excellent track record of enforcing arbitration awards. And Hong Kong, through Hong Kong International Arbitration Center, offers highly cost-effective arbitration services. Our Hong Kong awards are enforceable in more than 150 countries under the New York Convention, and also via bilateral arrangements for reciprocal enforcement of arbitration awards. On this slide, I will briefly show you the kind of experience that Mayor Brown JSM has had in the region. We have executed for clients infrastructure investments in Indonesia, Myanmar, Pakistan, Thailand, Vietnam. We have helped the Ministry of Finance, Mongolia, and the Trade Development Bank of Mongolia to issue bonds out of Hong Kong, and as well as we have done a few debt capital raising deals in Indonesia. This is the footprint of our firm. We can see that we have offices in China and Southeast Asia, and these offices of ours have been there for more than 20 years. We have offices in Dubai in the Middle East. We have offices in Europe. So we have very good coverage all along the Belt and Road region, ranging from North and Southeast Asia through the Middle East to the Indian subcontinent, Africa, and right across to Europe. And we also have offices in North and South Americas. So with this, I conclude my introduction. Thank you very much for your attention.